You know that feeling when you look at your bank account at the end of the month and wonder where all your money went.
You made decent money, you didn't buy anything crazy expensive, but somehow you're still basically broke.
Well, what if I told you there are 8 specific things that are quietly draining your wealth, and most people have no idea they're even doing it? And here's the kicker. When you stop buying these things, the changes aren't just financial. Your entire life starts shifting in ways you probably never expected. My name is Mike. And I spend way too much time analyzing spending patterns, consumer psychology, and why some people seem to effortlessly build wealth while others are stuck wondering where their paycheck disappeared to. If you've ever felt like you're making decent money but still can't seem to get ahead financially, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if it helps. You identify where your money's actually going. Now, before we dive into what these 8 things are, let me be clear about something. This isn't going to be some preachy finance lecture where I tell you to stop enjoying life and eat rice and beans in your parents' basement until you're 65. I'm not here to shame you for buying coffee or tell you that avocado toast is ruining your generation's financial future. That's nonsense, and frankly, it's insulting to your intelligence. What I am going to talk about are the real wealth killers. The things that are actually making a meaningful difference in your ability to build financial security. These are purchases that feel normal, maybe even necessary, but are quietly destroying your ability to get ahead. And the interesting part? Most people don't realize how much these things are costing them until they stop buying them and see what happens. Number 1, new cars. Let's start with the big one. New cars, and I know what you're thinking. Mike, everyone needs a car. How is that a wealth killer? Well, here's the thing. You need transportation. You don't need a brand new car that loses 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. The average new car payment in America is over $700 a month. That's not for some luxury vehicle. That's the average. And here's what actually happens when you stop buying new cars and switch to reliable used vehicles instead. First, the obvious part. You save that massive monthly payment. But it's not just about the payment. When you drive a used car that you own outright, your insurance drops dramatically. You don't need comprehensive coverage on a car that's worth $8,000. You can drop collision coverage and save hundreds of dollars every month, but here's where it gets really interesting. When you stop having a car payment, something shifts in your brain. You stop thinking of $700 a month as just a normal part of life. You start realizing that $700 invested every month for 30 years at 8% returns becomes over $1 million. $1 million. That's not a typo. The person driving the shiny new truck and the person driving the reliable used Honda aren't just making different transportation choices. One is destroying wealth, and the other is building it. I know someone who drove a 2008 Camry for years, while all his friends were buying new trucks and nice sedans. They made jokes about his old car, called it the hoopty, made fun of the fact that he had to use a key instead of a push-button start. You know what he's doing now? He's buying his second rental property while they're still making car payments on vehicles that are now worth half of what they owe. Who's laughing now? The psychological shift that happens when you stop buying new cars is profound. You realize that nobody actually cares what you drive except you. That promotion at work? It didn't go to the guy with the nicest car. That attractive person you wanted to impress? They were more interested in your personality than your vehicle. The social status you thought you were buying with that car payment was mostly in your head. Number 2. Subscription services. You don't use this one sneaks up on people because each individual subscription feels so small that it doesn't seem worth canceling. It's just $10 here, $15 there, maybe $20 for that premium tier you signed up for during a free trial and forgot to cancel. But here's what actually happens when you do an honest audit of your subscriptions and cancel everything you're not actively using first. You'll probably be shocked at how many you have. Streaming services, music apps, cloud storage, meal kit deliveries, gym memberships, app subscriptions, premium features you never use. The average person is spending between $200 and $300 per month on subscriptions. And most of them are on autopay, so they just keep draining your account month after month, without you even noticing. when you cancel the subscriptions you don't actually use, something interesting happens beyond just saving money. You start being more intentional about your entertainment and your time. Instead of mindlessly scrolling through 5 different streaming services trying to find something to watch, you actually engage with the content you care about. Instead of paying for a gym membership you use twice a month, you either commit to actually going or you find cheaper ways to exercise. But here's the real benefit that nobody talks about. When you eliminate unnecessary subscriptions, you break the psychological pattern of passive spending. You know, that thing where money just sort of disappears from your account and you're not quite sure where it went? That's mostly subscriptions. When you take control of this, you start feeling like you're actually in charge of your money instead of your money being in charge of you. I had a friend who did a subscription audit and discovered she was paying for 3 different cloud storage services, 2 meal kit subscriptions she hadn't used in months, a premium music service even though she mainly used a free competitor, and a gym membership to a facility she hadn't visited in over a year. She was spending $240 a month on services she literally wasn't using. That's almost $3,000 per year just evaporating from her bank account. When she canceled everything she didn't actively use, it felt like she'd given herself a raise without having to negotiate with her boss. Number 3, premium everything. This is a sneaky one because we've been conditioned to believe that premium automatically means better. Premium gas for your car that doesn't require it. Premium streaming tiers. Premium airline seats for a 2-hour flight. Premium versions of products where the regular version works just fine. Here's what actually happens when you stop automatically choosing the premium option for everything and start asking yourself whether the upgrade is actually worth the price difference. You realize that most premium products are selling you status and marketing, not actual value. Take premium gas as an example. If your car doesn't require it, which most don't, you're literally just burning extra money with zero benefit. The premium gas isn't making your car run better, last longer, or perform differently. You're just paying 30 to 50 cents more per gallon because the word premium makes you feel like you're treating your car right. Over the course of a year, that's several $100s that could have been invested or saved. Or consider premium seating on flights. For a short domestic flight, you might pay an extra $80 to $150 for a seat. That gives you 2 more inches of legroom and priority boarding. That's not a bad deal if you're 6'5" or flying internationally for 12 hours. But for a regular person on a 2-hour flight, you're paying crazy money for a marginal improvement that you'll forget about. Breaking the premium habit is how it forces you to evaluate what you actually value. When you stop automatically upgrading everything, you have more money to spend on the upgrades that genuinely matter to you. Maybe you really do value that business class seat on international flights because you travel for work and need to arrive fresh. Great, pay for that upgrade. But maybe you can skip the premium coffee beans that taste exactly the same as the regular ones and use that money for something that actually improves your life. Number 4, convenience food. This is probably the most controversial item on this list because everyone's got an opinion about food spending. But hear me out. I'm not telling you to never eat at restaurants or order delivery. I'm talking about the habitual convenience food purchases that happen because you didn't plan ahead. Not because you're actually enjoying a dining experience. The $12 lunch you grab because you didn't pack anything. The $40 dinner delivery you order because you're too tired to cook. The $8 breakfast sandwich you buy at the coffee shop on your way to work because you didn't eat at home. When you add these up over a month, it's not uncommon for people to spend $400 to $600 on convenience food without ever having what they'd consider a nice meal out. Here's what actually happens when you stop buying convenience food and start meal planning instead. First, you save an absurd amount of money. Like you'll probably be shocked at how much you were spending. But the more interesting part is how your relationship with food changes. When you're meal planning and cooking, you start actually thinking about what you want to eat instead of just grabbing whatever's convenient. You end up eating better food, not just cheaper food. The psychological shift is significant too. When you stop relying on convenience food, you take back control of your schedule and your nutrition. That feeling of being too busy or too tired to cook? A lot of times that's actually decision fatigue from not having a plan. When you know what you're eating for lunch all week because you meal prepped on Sunday, you eliminate all those daily decisions about where to get food. I know someone who was spending nearly $500 a month on lunch alone. Just lunch. Not fancy dinners or weekend brunch. Just the daily sandwich shop or food court purchases that seemed too small to matter. When he started packing lunch, he saved about $350 per month, which over a year is over $4,000. That's a decent vacation, a solid emergency fund boost, or a meaningful investment contribution. All from sandwiches. But here's the part that surprised him most. His health improved. When you're buying convenience food, you're typically getting larger portions, more processed ingredients, and fewer vegetables than you would if you prepared your own meals. He lost weight without trying to diet. His energy levels stabilized because he wasn't riding the blood sugar roller coaster of grab-and-go meals. The money savings were great, but the life quality improvements were even better. Number 5. Lottery tickets and gambling. Now we're getting into territory that some people will get defensive about. And look, I get it. Buying a lottery ticket isn't about the expected value or the mathematical probability. It's about the dream, the hope, the what if. But here's the brutal truth. Regular lottery ticket purchases and casual gambling are one of the most efficient ways to transfer money from your wallet to someone else's. The lottery is often called a tax on people who are bad at math. And while that sounds harsh, the statistics back it up. The odds of winning a major lottery jackpot are roughly 1 in 300 million. You are more likely to be struck by lightning, become a movie star, or have identical quadruplets than you are to win the lottery. And yet, the average American who plays the lottery spends about $250 per year on tickets. Some spend much more. Here's what actually happens when you stop buying lottery tickets and gambling casually. First, you immediately have more money. Shocking, I know. But it's not just about that $250 or whatever you were spending. It's about breaking the magical thinking pattern that keeps so many people financially stuck. When you're regularly buying lottery tickets, you're subconsciously telling yourself that your path to wealth involves luck rather than strategy. You're hoping for a windfall instead of building wealth systematically. This mindset affects how you approach your finances in general. You might be less motivated to save, invest, or increase your income because part of your brain is counting on that lucky break. When you stop gambling and redirect that money toward actual wealth building, something shifts. You start believing that your financial future is in your control, not in the hands of random chance. That $250 per year invested over 30 years at 8% returns becomes over $28,000. It's not life-changing money, but it's a hell of a lot better than a pile of losing lottery tickets. Number 6. Fast fashion. This one's interesting because it feels like you're being financially responsible. You're buying cheap clothes instead of expensive ones. How could that be a wealth killer? Well, here's the thing. When you buy cheap, low-quality clothing, you end up buying more of it more often. That $15 shirt falls apart after 3 washes, so you buy another one. Those $30 jeans stretch out and fade after a month, so you replace them. You're constantly buying new clothes, but your closet is full of stuff you don't really like. Here's what actually happens when you stop buying fast fashion and instead invest in quality pieces. You end up spending less money overall. Quality clothing lasts years instead of months. That $80 pair of jeans that seemed expensive will outlast 5 pairs of $30 jeans, and they'll look better the entire time. The cost per wear ends up being dramatically lower, but the more interesting change is psychological. When your closet is full of quality pieces you actually like, you stop feeling like you need to constantly buy new clothes. The urge to shop for clothes drops dramatically when you're not trying to replace things that fell apart or that you never really liked in the first place. I had a friend who was constantly buying clothes. Every weekend, she'd come home with bags from fast fashion stores. She thought she was being smart by buying cheap stuff, but when she actually added up her spending, she was dropping $200 to $300 per month on clothes. That's $3,000 per year on clothing that she barely wore and that fell apart quickly. When she switched to buying fewer, higher quality pieces, her clothing spending dropped to about $800 per year, and her wardrobe actually got better. She was saving over $2,000 annually and looking better. That's not a trade-off. That's just smarter shopping. Number 7. Emotional purchases. This is the hardest one to quantify because it's different for everyone, but it might be the most important item on this list. Emotional purchases are the things you buy because you're stressed, bored, sad, or trying to fill some psychological need that has nothing to do with actually wanting the product. That feeling when you've had a terrible day at work and you start browsing online, stores, adding things to your cart, or when you're feeling anxious about your life direction, so you buy some self-help course or productivity tool that promises to fix everything. That's emotional spending, and it's costing you way more than the price tag suggests. Here's what actually happens when you stop making emotional purchases and start dealing with your emotions directly. First, you save a surprising amount of money. Most people don't realize how much of their spending is driven by emotions rather than actual needs or even genuine wants. When you pause and ask yourself, am I buying this because I want it or because I'm feeling something I don't want to feel? You'll catch a lot of purchases before they happen, but the real benefit isn't financial. When you stop using shopping as emotional regulation, you're forced to develop healthier coping mechanisms. You might start journaling, talking to friends, exercising, or just sitting with uncomfortable emotions instead of trying to shop your way out of them. This sounds like therapy talk, and maybe it is, but it's also practical financial advice. You can't build wealth if you're constantly medicating bad feelings. With Amazon orders, I know someone who realized she was spending about $300 a month on what she called pick-me-ups, little purchases that made her feel better after stressful days. Cute mugs, candles, books she never read, organizers for projects she never started. None of it was expensive individually, but it added up to $3,600 per year. When she started tracking her emotional state before purchases, she caught herself probably 80% of the time. She'd feel that urge to buy something, recognize that she was actually just stressed about work, and instead go for a walk or call a friend. Her spending dropped by thousands, and here's the weird part, she actually felt better. Turns out that buying stuff to avoid dealing with your emotions doesn't actually make you feel better. It just delays the feelings and drains your bank account. Number 8. Stuff you think you should want. This last one is subtle, but it might be the most powerful wealth killer on this list. These are purchases you make not because you actually want them, but because you think you should want them based on your age, income level, or social circle. The nice watch because successful people wear nice watches. The golf club membership because that's where business happens. The expensive handbag because it's an investment. Peace. Here's what actually happens when you stop buying things you think you should want and only buy things you genuinely want. You discover that most of what you were spending money on was about performing success for other people rather than actually enjoying your life. That watch you bought because successful people wear expensive watches, you probably check the time on your phone anyway. That golf membership you got for networking, you maybe used it twice and felt guilty about wasting money every month. That designer handbag, it felt good for about a week, and then it was just another bag, but now you were $2,000 poorer. When you stop performing wealth and status, something magical happens. You start spending money on things that actually improve your life instead of things that look good to other people. Maybe you realize you'd rather spend money on travel experiences than material goods. Or maybe you discover that you genuinely love your hobbies and want to invest more there. The point is, your spending starts reflecting your actual values instead of what you think your values should be. This creates a positive feedback loop. When you're spending money on things you genuinely value, you feel better about your purchases. When you feel better about your purchases, you experience less buyer's remorse. When you experience less buyer's remorse, you shop less to make yourself feel better about previous bad purchases. Your overall spending drops, your satisfaction increases, and you start building actual wealth instead of just performing the appearance of wealth. The compound effect. Now here's where this gets really interesting, and this is something most people miss. When you stop buying these 8 things, the benefit isn't just additive. It's multiplicative. Let's say stopping new car purchases saves you $500 per month. Cutting unnecessary subscriptions saves another. Convenience food saves $300. Avoiding fast fashion saves another. $150. Stopping lottery tickets and emotional purchases saves another. But it's not just about saving. $14,400, it's about what that money can do when you invest it instead of spending it. $1,200 per month invested at 8% annual returns for 20 years becomes over $700,000. We're not talking about winning the lottery or getting some high-risk investment to pay off. We're talking about just not buying 8 categories of things that weren't making you happier anyway. But here's the part that nobody talks about, and it's honestly more important than the money. When you stop buying these things, you become a different type of person. You develop the identity of someone who makes intentional financial decisions. Instead of just letting money slip through your fingers, you prove to yourself that you're not a victim of circumstance or consumer culture. You're someone who can look at what everyone else is doing, evaluate whether it makes sense, and make your own choices. This identity shift affects everything. You become more confident at work because you're not dependent on your paycheck to fund an unsustainable lifestyle. You become less stressed in relationships because money isn't a constant source of anxiety. You sleep better at night because you know you're building something instead of just treading water. The person you become while building wealth is infinitely more valuable than the wealth itself. So there you have it. 8 things that are quietly destroying your wealth, and what actually happens when you stop buying them. The changes aren't just financial. They're psychological, emotional, and practical. You don't just save money. You become someone who doesn't need to constantly spend money to feel okay about themselves. And honestly, that might be the most valuable transformation of all. If you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss future videos. And if you want to share which of these 8 things you're going to stop buying first, drop a comment below. I read every single one, and I'm genuinely curious which item resonated most with you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.